Nobody ever wishes to be rejected or for their visas to get denied. And so I feel that it is good to know what might cause these rejections before we start any application. Wouldn't you agree with me? Hi everyone, my name is Zuri, and today we're going to talk about why a Canada study visa application might be denied and what to do about it. And so this video is for two categories of people. The first category is if you have ever been denied a Canada study visa and you're wondering why, and you're also wondering what to do about it. The second category of people that this video is for is people that are about to apply for a study visa to Canada. So stay tuned. Now, before we get into the video, I would like to remind you or introduce to you the Visa to Anywhere Masterclass. If you are yet to join my masterclass, please check the description and click on the link for the masterclass. Now, if you want me to send you the link personally, all you have to do is comment masterclass in the comment section. Just type masterclass in the comment section and I will definitely respond. Now, according to several surveys around the world, it has shown that Canada's study visa rejection has doubled ever since we came out of the COVID-19 pandemic era. While some consultants attribute these rejections to the high number of backlogs and applications, some others are saying that the requirements have been tweaked a bit and hence the high number of rejections. So today we will be talking about the reasons why your study visa might be rejected, and if there is time, we'll talk about what you can do about it. Okay, so let's move on. Now, first of all, we will talk about the reasons why your visa might have been rejected, or the reasons why a Canada study visa might be rejected. Okay, so let's get right into it. Now, the first thing I wrote here is your academic performance. As you know, you need to have the adequate academic credits and scores. If you do not have the adequate number of academic scores needed, then the Canadian government might not give you that visa. Now, there's a video where I talked about the requirements for Canada study visa. I would link it in the description below. Please go check that video out. Now, this channel is relatively new right now, and I'm hoping that I would be allowed to put the link in the description below. But if I am not able to put the link in the description below, just check the playlist, check this playlist, and you will see that video there, the requirements that are needed for a Canada study visa, right from admission to the visa approval. Okay, now the second point is false or incomplete documents. Now, I would like to say this: submission of false documents is a no-no. Okay, when it comes to your study visa for Canada, submission of false documents is a no-no. All right, if you lose any documents, there is no need falsifying it. You can get an affidavit or you can apply for a new one. All right, so please do not forge documents or falsify information just to get a study visa to Canada. If Canada finds out, you definitely will be rejected, and pray that you do not get banned. Okay, so please do not falsify documents. Now, the third one I wrote here is inadequate funds. Now, this is a very, very serious topic, and that is why I created a whole video on it, on proof of funds. Okay, because this is one issue that gets flagged a lot of times for several visa application types, and this is one reason why several visa application types get turned down. Okay, why people get rejected or denied on their visa applications. Proof of funds is a hot topic, and I have created a whole video talking about how to grow your proof of funds and common mistakes that we make when submitting our proof of funds or when trying to show our proof of funds. I may not repeat that here, but make sure that you have a sufficient amount of funds to take care of yourself and any dependents you're taking along. Okay, you can check the Canadian website for the proof of funds. I know that it has been increased by now, 2024, so you can check the website for the proof of funds for your visa type. Okay, and please, another thing that you have to note: meeting the minimum financial threshold. If you meet the minimum threshold of financial requirements for your study visa, it is still not enough. Your application will be convincing if your proof of funds can show that you have financial capabilities for more than just 1 year. if you can show that you have sufficient funds for more than just 1 year, then your proof of funds and your visa application will be more convincing. Trust me when I say that. Now, what I would advise for you to do is go watch my video on proof of funds, because I break everything down and talk about some mistakes that we make when trying to show our proof of funds. And like I always say, too much information and too much funds can never be too much, okay? It is better to have too much than to have less than what is required, okay? So please make sure that you take that into consideration. I have an acquaintance who made an application and also added her proof of funds and also her sponsor's proof of funds, okay? Her parents' proof of funds, because she was trying to show that if anything happens to my application, my parents are there to also back me up, which is really good. So that is not an example of broad documentation. That is also good documentation to show adequate proof of funds, okay? Also make sure that you have a clear picture of your intent as a bona fide student, okay? Your statement of purpose has to be very clear, okay? And make sure that your documentation is organized as well. Now let's move on to the next one. If you choose a different field of study from your previous one. Now, if you choose a field of study that is very, very far or in huge contrast with your previous one, or you do not have any work experience in that field at all, okay? If this new course of study you're choosing is very different from the previous course of study, and it is also different from your work experience, that is, you have no educational background or work experience for this field of study you have chosen, then you can be questioned on this, and this can be flagged. And remember that Canada's visa process has no interview. Canada's study visa process has no interview. So you need to do your best to convince the visa officer and to convince the IRCC as to why you're changing your field of study. You have to convince them, okay? And you should be able to explain why you are changing your field of study, okay? The next one here is criminal record or security concerns. Now, many countries have very, very strict rules about admitting individuals who pose a risk to public safety or national security. Now, depending on what your past might have been, if you have a criminal record or if there are security concerns associated with your background, then you might be denied a visa, okay? And that is why it is good to live a peaceful life and try as much as possible to stay out of trouble so that you do not get denied a visa in future. All right. Now, the next one that I wrote down here is medical issues. There are some countries that you have to undergo a medical examination before you go over to study, and Canada is one of them. Now, if you have a medical condition that could pose a risk to public health or safety, then you will be denied a visa because they do not want to come in. They do not want you to come in and maybe spread it or contaminate the society, that kind of thing, okay? You know what I'm saying. Now, the next one I wrote down here is immigration violations. Now, if you have violated immigration laws in the past, whether in Canada or in another country, let's say you have overstayed or you have worked illegally and all that, your visa application might be denied. Now, it is very important for you to be honest with your application, okay? Be very honest while applying for the study visa. Follow all the rules and regulations associated with this current visa application, okay? The next one I wrote here is your plans to return home. I know you might have forgotten. I know you've totally forgotten that you're supposed to return home, right? Some of you have been tempted to forget that you're supposed to return home after your study visa, but you are actually meant to convince the visa officer that you would return home at the end of your study in Canada. A study permit is temporary, okay? You need to understand that. Now, this does not mean that when you're studying, or when you're done with your study, you cannot extend your permit or try to apply for a PR. That's another discussion for another day, and I will create a video on that for you. You're welcome. Now, like I said before, you have to convince the visa officer that you would go back home, okay, when you complete your studies. There are times when you have done all these things that I have mentioned, you have gotten all this figured out, you have all these things figured out, all these things that I've mentioned, you have them figured out, but you still get denied. I would personally like for you to not beat yourself up too much when this happens or if this happens, all right? Now let's go ahead to the phase 2 of this video to see what can be done about it. Okay, if your Canada study visa application is denied, I understand it can be frustrating. It can be a frustrating and disappointing experience. However, there are steps that you can take to address the situation. All right, so let's have an overview of what you can do. Now, the very first thing I wrote here is to review the reasons for your denial. Whenever there's a denial, the visa officer will definitely send a letter talking about why you were denied. So you need to review it carefully. Okay, the IRCC will send you a letter from your visa officer. So you need to review that letter carefully and understand why you were denied. Because the first way to solve a problem is to first understand the problem, right? So the first step is for you to understand why you were denied. And then understanding why your application was denied can now help you determine the next steps to take. All right? Now, the second one I wrote here is for you to appeal the decision. To believe that your Canada study visa was unfairly denied, you can appeal your decision, okay? Or maybe you feel like there was a mistake in the decision-making process that got you the denial. You can appeal the decision. You might need to maybe add some supporting documents depending on the type of visa. In this case, it's a study visa, so you may need to appeal the decision. You may need to provide additional information or additional documentation to support your appeal, okay? This is very important. But then, much more importantly, it is advisable to follow all the instructions by the Canadian government when submitting an appeal. Now, the next point I wrote here is that you can reapply, okay? If your appeal was unsuccessful, or maybe there was no option to appeal, or you passed the deadline, you can reapply for your study visa. But please be sure that you are adding those pieces of information that were lacking in the previous application, okay? Now, we talked about knowing the reason why you were denied. Now that you know the reason why you were denied, when you are reapplying, ensure that you address those concerns, okay? Let's say, for example, one of the reasons for your denial was inadequate proof of funds. Make sure that when you're reapplying, you ensure that your proof of funds is adequate, and if possible, more than adequate this time, okay? I've created a video talking about proof of funds. Please go check out that video like I said before, all right? Ensure that you seek professional advice when reapplying, okay? Please be careful so that you don't lose or you don't get denied your visa again. Now, the final one is I know you might not want to hear this option, but the final point is for you to explore other options. If you're not able to obtain a study visa from Canada, I understand that it can be devastating, but you might want to consider exploring other options for studying abroad, like other countries. That's what I mean. Okay, if you really are interested in pursuing your education, then you might want to consider other countries. There are many countries that offer very high quality programs and opportunities for international students. Okay, if you want me to do it, I will list it. Okay, I will create another video and list for you the top countries that have quality schools for you to actually go studying. Now, in this video, we have discussed the major reasons why you might be denied a Canada study visa. We have also talked about the things that you can do about it, what you can do about it. So take your time, go through it. If you want to, you can watch this video again, all right, to acquaint yourself with what exactly to do. Maybe watch it again with a note and a pen so that you don't miss out on any of the pieces of information. Now, if you like this video and this video has been useful to you, please click on the like button, okay? And if you're feeling extra generous today, you can also hit the subscribe button. Help me to get enough subscribers so that YouTube can show me to even more people. Thank you very much, and I appreciate your support for this channel. Till I come your way in another video, stay safe and keep traveling.